Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are taking a look at Shaddoll. Now, Shaddoll are mostly known for going first and setting up something like a window, and then just constantly looping resources to get more and more monsters onto their field and slowly outpace you. However, what if you went second? Now, I have been experimenting with going second because I think right now there is some merit to going second and playing strong going second decks in a best of one format. It's very strong, it wins quickly, and it allows you to just kind of win when people aren't expecting it. Now, Shaddoll have a card called Shaddoll Fusion, which really helps facilitate this. If your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you get to send the fusion materials for your fusion from deck to grave. Now, we've already seen what that does for things like Fusion Destiny, as well as in the future, what will happen with branded fusion. So, obviously, this card was kind of the start to that, and is a little bit more well-balanced. However, it does mean that we have a good going second option. We can actually set up a board where we can go and activate the Shaddoll Fusion in order to go into Construct and get our full combo started. So that's kind of the idea behind this. Let's go second. Let's set up a board with the Construct and just kind of punch through our opponent's board. So starting off, we're going to start with the hand traps. I'm actually only playing a few hand traps, notably triple Max C, the double Ash Blossom, and the double Nibiru. I think having Max C and Nibiru shuts down a lot of decks and can help facilitate the basically prevention of an unbreakable board. A lot of Halcyon lines do stop or do go through quite a few summons prior to them actually having a negate on their field for the Nibiru. So you can oftentimes go into the Nibiru and just clean up their board, and so few people are actually playing around Nibiru and have outs like the cross-out designator for the Nibiru. So it is just an overall very solid hand trap, mostly to get off of a Max C. Moving on to the actual Shaddolls, we have the one Falco. This is in here to bring back a fusion monster with its flip effect, mostly. It is nice to have as like a recurring material, but if you're under Winda, it's not the greatest. Next up, we have two Hedgehog to search a spell or trap on flip. That's mostly what it's used for. Searching a monster is nice sometimes. If you have like a Shaddoll Fusion and your opponent doesn't have a monster special summoned from the extra deck, this can be helpful, but most of the time it's used for that first effect. Next up, we have Wendy, which just special summons a monster. So good overall. We have Squamata to send cards, as well as if it somehow gets its flip effect, to destroy cards. We have Dragon, which can pop a spell or trap, which is the main reason we have it. And then we have Ariel as well at 2 copies, because it can banish cards from the graveyard. Really good at dealing with DPE or things like Meow Meow Mew from Prank Kids. We also have 2 Shaddoll Beast in here to draw us cards. So those are all of the Shaddolls that we're playing. We're also playing 1 Armageddon Knight to facilitate the combo by just being able to send something like a Squamata to the graveyard to send any other card. The rest of the monsters we're playing is 1 Pankratops, and 2 Gamma Seal. As for the rest of the deck, we are playing the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, the 1 Foolish Burial, triple Shaddoll Fusion, the 2 Dark Ruler No More, 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Super Polymerization, 2 L Shaddoll Fusion, the 2 Called by the Grave, and for the traps we have triple Evenly Matched and 1 Schism. The reason I'm playing 44 cards is because I actually don't want to see that many Shaddolls in hand. The most that I want to see is 2. So we are playing a large amount of Shaddolls to give me more materials to use for the fusion summons, but realistically I don't want to see them all that often. Most of the time I want to use Schism in order to banish cards for the fusions, and I just need them to get my combo started and to help with that grind game. So that's why we're playing a little bit more than 40 cards. As for the extra deck, we are playing the one Mud Dragon of the Swamp, 1 Prank Kid Weather Washer, which just takes any 2 Prank Kids, the 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, and the 1 Dragostapelio for our Super Polymerization targets. Also, you can use Super Polymerization for any of your Shaddolls as long as you have a Shaddoll on your field, or if by some miracle you're playing against a Shaddoll player. As for the Shaddolls, we're playing 2 each of the Winda, Apkallone, Construct, and Sheki Naga. The only thing that I might change is actually adding in a third Construct. It comes up rarely, but it is very nice to have that third one as another way to just kind of punch through your opponent. Yeah, that's basically it. What I would take out is the Anatolius. This card kind of works, but right now there isn't really a lot of water monsters that you would want to maybe super poly into. Yes, you could give your opponent your Gamma Seal, which is why we're playing it, but in all honesty, this isn't great. It also doesn't really have the greatest effect. Neither player can special summon monsters from the hand or graveyard using spell or trap effects. That's it. It's kind of a floodgate, but also not really, because it's only using spell and trap effects. So sure, this shuts down like what? Dark Lord, I guess. It's not the greatest, but hey, it has its floating effect as well. However, we are playing Despia, which is a fairly decent card. The reason for this is because it negates summons. When your opponent would special summon a monster, you can, and you have a Shaddoll card in your hand, you can negate the summon, destroy that monster, and send a Shaddoll card from your hand to the grave. Now, this is very good because it allows you to stop inherent summons like a Synchro or Xyz summon. This means that your opponent is going to make that Shishao or that Baron or what have you. Very, very nice, and overall a very solid card, and it can be made with Ash and the Schism, so that's more so why we're playing it. The last card that we have in here is Gravity Controller, so we can put something like a Construct into the extra monster zone, link it away for this guy, and then grab ourselves the Schism that we ended up searching. So that's it for the deck list. Let's hop into the replays and see how this deck performs. Before we get on to the rest of the video, did you know that 70% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed? If you end up liking the content, consider subscribing. You can always unsubscribe later if you end up not liking it. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the video. Alright, so here we are, again, going second. That's kind of our plan. And we drew a terrible hand. However, we are playing against Prank Kid. So Prank Kid kind of does what we do, just a little bit better. Their payoffs are a little bit stronger, and their consistency is significantly better. So let's see how this goes. We did draw the Nibiru, and it appears my opponent has not drawn the adventure half of their engine, so we should be able to Nibiru them for quite a bit. I'm actually going to drop the Nibiru here because I don't want them to get their Dodal Dodal Do to gain that advantage. I just want to kind of deal with their monsters here. They're going to set a card and pass. Now, we can't really do anything, and I draw Ash, and it's like, okay. So I'm just going to go to battle, set the Wendy, and pass. Not a whole lot more I could have done there. My hand is really mediocre, especially given the fact that they ended on a singular monster. They're going to then special summon out their Wandering Griffin Rider, as well as normal summon a Prank Kid, in order for them to go into full combo. However, it doesn't matter that I had the Ash, they had the Called By, but I did try to Ash to stop their combo, but of course they have the out. I figured the out was the set card, but no, it was in hand. So out comes the Dodal Dodal Do and the Dropsies. Dropsies effect is going to activate, summon out the Fancies, and search out Place. Place is going to activate, and they are going to then search out the Roxies. They will then activate the effect of their Dodal Dodal Do in order to add back the Lampsies as well as the Place. Or, sorry, Pranks. Pranks is going to activate. They are going to grab themselves up another token and then go into a Bow Wow Bark. They'll activate the effect of Pranks to boost up their monsters, as well as send another Place to the graveyard due to Fancies. Oh, sorry, they decrease our monsters. They're then going to link off into a Predaplant Verti Anaconda and send the Thunder Dragon Fusion to fusion summon out a Battle Butler. Now, I don't know why this says just any Thunder monster, but alas, there you go. They're going to walk into our monsters, and at this point, it was looking pretty scary, but since we do have the set Winda, we should be fine. So we're going to go Winda effect in order to special summon out the Hedgehog, and they do actually walk into it, allowing us to get the effect of the flip summon. Of the flip effect, allowing us to add that ever so important Shaddoll fusion. So they are going to activate their Pranks and shuffle back a few of their cards. Now, for turn, I actually add the Shaddoll Fusion, I draw the Shaddoll Fusion, and in draw phase, I'm actually going to activate it here to prevent them from special summoning something off of, like, the Battle Butler or their Pandemonium. That is more so what I wanted to do, and that's why I'm doing this now rather than in the main phase. Yes, it does stifle me because now I can't go Pankratops and the Shaddoll Fusion, but it is more important to stop their plays than I think it is for our plays to start, since they already have, given the fact that we did get to dump a Squamata, which gets to dump an Ariel as well. We also get to draw here. So, At this point, I'm going to banish both the Meow Meow Mews as well as the Thunder Dragon Fusion. I know a lot of prank kids are starting to play a Kaiju, the Thunder Kaiju, so they can banish this in order to grab that Kaiju, which would deal with our window. I don't really want that to happen, so I'm going to activate, I'm going to banish it. Here, I'm going to activate the Shaddoll Fusion in order for me to go for our Construct here. Now, they have already activated their Bow Wow Bark, so I'm not going to be able to destroy anything, but out comes their Battle Butler anyway. I'm going to activate, I'm going to actually send to the graveyard off of our fusion the dragon to deal with the pranks. The reason I do this is because this is the card that is allowing them to constantly recur advantage, and I don't really want them to do that. Yeah, we're also going to activate the Construct here, and they're going to activate a bunch of effects, gain a few more life points, gain a few more attack points, and I'm going to proceed to battle. I attack into their Battle Butler because, one, I wasn't entirely sure how Bow Wow Bark worked, so there's that. But two, it did exactly what I wanted it to, which was bait out the destruction effect of the Battle Butler. So while our Construct does die, we still get our Schism back. We did send that off of the Construct there. We're then going to walk in with the Winda into their Verity Anaconda. The reason for this, pretty simple. If they're playing DPE, I don't really want to deal with that. We're going to set 2 and pass. They're going to switch their guy to attack position during the end phase, or during the end of the main phase. I'm going to activate my Schism, and I'm going to go into a second Winda. I really do want to keep them locked under that one special summon. So, the Winda effect is going to activate, and they actually attack the wrong one. They attack the one that can't attack directly, so that's very funny. But we are going to search out that Shaddoll Fusion as well, and return it to hand. We draw the Squamata, which is funny at the very least, but we are going to go for another Construct here. We're going to put it in the extra monster zone once again. It will get impermed. Sadly, we don't get a send here, but since we already have the Schism, I'm not too upset. Then I do something very funny. I normal summon the Pankratops. The reason for this, pretty simple. It deals with the Battle Butler in the most effective way. So what we are going to do is we are going to add back the Shaddoll Fusion here, and they are going to just be destroyed thanks to our Pankratops. They're going to special summon back the Bow Wow Bark and then go for the Bow Wow Bark in order to add back the Pranks as well as the Lampsies. I'm okay with this since it does allow me to deal a slight bit of damage, and we have the Shaddoll Fusion and the Schism in our possession, so I'm really not too upset. They're going to go for the Meow Meow Mew here, and then they will activate the Place as well as the Lampsies. Now, they've already special summoned, so they can't actually resolve the Lampsies effect all the way through. They're going to activate their Pranks and proceed to the end phase. However, prior to that, I'm going to summon out the App Cologne. App Cologne says, target a card, negate its effects. Permanently. So, their Prank Kid Pranks is now offline permanently. They're going to try it anyway, and yeah, it's not going to happen. So, it's going to pass back to us, and they concede, realizing that they can't do anything. They're just out of resources with no more Meow Meow moves, nor Battle Butlers. Alright, and here we are, again, going second, and with a... I don't want to say that this is a terrible hand, but it feels bad. So, my opponent is going to activate their Branded Opening, and seeing as how I don't want them to resolve the effect of Tragedy, I do decide to hit the Branded Opening here instead of hitting an Aluber. So I'm going to Ash them here. They're going to normal summon the Aluber. That's a-okay with me. Out comes the Despia Theater, and they are going to activate it in order to fuse into... Oh my gosh, they're playing a comedy. I forgot. They go for the Masquerade here. Now, it's literally just Masquerade Pass, and they have, like, kind of protection? Not the greatest of protection, but... I mean, we draw Schism, so there's that. We are going to use the Lightning Storm here since we have a Feather Duster as well, so we're going to deal with the Theater. We're going to set the Schism and the Shaddoll Hedgehog and pass. The only thing at this point that we could go into is Garistia, which sucks against a Fusion deck, so there's no real point in doing that. They are going to add back the Aluber, and I believe they go for a Fusion here. Yep, they do. They go for the Masquerade as well. They're going to also activate the effect of Ad Libitum in order to special summon Despia and Comedy. Then they are going to normal summon Aluber and special summon Verity Anaconda. Sure, that's okay. They're then going to go for their DPE with the two worst materials that I've ever seen. Why in the world are you playing Denier and Malicious? Please stop. Anyway, they're going to activate Sorry, they're not going to activate anything. I'm going to activate my Nibiru to deal with their entire board. They're going to pop the set card, which does hurt, but it doesn't really matter because we do want the Hedgehog anyway. They're going to activate their effect of DPE in the graveyard. So at this point, it's looking pretty scary for us. So there's that. I'm going to flip up my Shaddoll Hedgehog and add to the hand the Shaddoll Fusion. I'm then going to deal with the back row here because I knew it was a branded in red. I wanted it to at least force out some sort of interaction, hoping that they go into a fusion monster, but they don't. Now, Shaddoll Fusion here specifically requires you to have a monster summoned from the extra deck. Now, DPE was summoned from the graveyard. While it was fusion summoned, it's no longer summoned from the extra deck. It came back from the grave, even though it was destroyed. So, at this point, I cannot send from deck. However, my opponent knows this and decides to destroy the Hedgehog. I drew the other Hedgehog, so it doesn't really matter, but out comes the Construct. We're going to put it in the extra monster zone so that we can use it for the... so that we can link it off for the Schism. Anyway, we are going to send a Squamata off of the Construct, and Squamata will send Aerial. Aerial will then banish 3 cards. We will banish the Denier, the DPE, as well as Comedy. The reason I banished Denier is because it can bring back the Malicious. I don't really care about Malicious either, since they already banished one. I'm going to then proceed to battle and deal with the token, and then link off the Construct for Gravity Controller. Construct effect is going to add back the Schism, and we will set and pass. This is literally all that we have. It's not the greatest, but it's also not the worst. They're going to bring back their Masquerade here, and then they are going to bring back Malicious off of the effect of their DPE. They're going to then normal summon the Aluber, and at this point, I'm actually going to Schism, seeing them activate their Masquerade. Now, I know what you're saying. You're going for Winda here, right? Winda stops them from special summoning, it forces out the battle phase, like that's a great idea. However, I don't do that. Reason being, Winda's kind of small. It really is very small. Both of the Masquerade Dragons can walk over it, so there's no real point in going for that. Instead, I decided to go for a Construct here. Construct is more difficult for them to deal with, as well as it gets me more advantage. I'm going to send the Squamata here in order to send the Wendy here, and then set the Falco. At this point, they go for a Draglubion because they are a bad Despia player and are playing bad cards, and out comes the Numeron Dragon. They're going to activate the Numeron Dragon, and guess what? This card is in the extra monster zone. Now, if you've never read Gravity Controller, there's one thing that this card does. If this card in the extra monster zone, this card in the extra monster zone cannot be destroyed by battle with monsters in the main monster zone. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster in the extra monster zone, return him to the deck. Just return him to the deck. So, that's exactly what happens. Despia players are geniuses. Yeah. Alright, so this duel isn't particularly exciting, but it does show you the power of some of the cards that we have. So my opponent is going to go and start with Pot of Extravagance, and I'm going to Ash that. It goes through, resolves, a happy day, they set 3, and pass. We have the Lightning Storm, so I'm feeling pretty good. So I'm going to activate the Lightning Storm, and they will flip up a banned card, Imperial Order. Hey, did you know that this card is banned? Did you also know that Shaddoll Fusion is a quick play spell? Sorry, El Shaddoll Fusion is a quick play spell. So we are going to fire off the El Shaddoll Fusion before our effects get negated, and then we are going to go for the Construct. Construct allows us to send a particular card to the graveyard. Well, it's going to send a Wendy here, but it also allows us to send Dragon. We happen to draw the Squamata, but yeah. We can send the Dragon here in order to pop an Imperial Order. So we're going to pop the... yeah, my opponent decides to scoop there. They were on Eldritch, so there's that. But yeah, Dragon's in here for that reason, basically. So I didn't want to make this video too long, so we're not showing as many replays. However, all in all, this deck is rather interesting. I didn't have the greatest of results with it, but it really does feel like there is something there, especially with a going second build. Having things like the Kaijus I never really actually saw them, but that might be a little bit more helpful. I really wish we had multiple copies, or more copies of Super Polymerization. This is very good in fusion decks and not very good in like other decks, so it does make sense to have it bump up, but with Branded being around the corner as well as Tearlament, maybe not the greatest idea. I never really actually saw the evenly matched as well, and whenever I did see it, it was very, very good. Or it did absolutely nothing because my opponent had the 1 negate and I had no other interaction. But all in all, I would say that this is the best card. Yeah, we didn't see it in any of the replays, but definitely this is the one to play. Same with Dark Ruler No More. While we didn't see it in the replays, this is very good for cleaning up boards with things like Construct, just being able to walk in and destroy basically any monster your opponent controls. And under a Dark Ruler, that's going to be no issue. All in all, though, I think the deck is very interesting and definitely has potential. I'm not the best at deck building, so I would love to see you guys come up with something a little bit better, or at least give me some more ideas as to what cards or, you know, interesting going second strategies I should employ with deck building. Yeah, because right now, I have a whole bunch of 2-ofs. I have some cards that I don't think necessarily are working. Things like the Ash Blossom, things like the Nibiru, and I just don't know. It feels very difficult to deck build as going second, whereas very simple to deck build going first. So yeah, I'd love to see your guys' assistance figure out what is necessary and what have you. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated, and if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. And a special shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Yorda, you're the only one right now, but thank you for the continued support.